So if you've ever gotten on your phone or your computer and looked up power outages in my area, you probably have come across the PowerOutage.us website. They're one of the most prevalent websites for power outage tracking in the industry. And they have a lot of people getting on there all the time, especially during outage events. So today we're out here at the Trainers Conference in Orlando, Florida, and we sit down with Mr. Matt Hope, who is one of the co-owners and very involved with the website. He goes over the data that they're collecting, how they use it, what kind of users they have on their website, and the future of where their website's going. We also talk about some of the changes recently and why those changes were necessary and how they're trying to evolve and change with the industry. It's a great conversation that you're not going to miss. Let's talk about it. You're listening to Power Grid Talks, from the bucket trucks to the boardrooms. I'm your host, Tom Williamson, a journeyman lineman with over 15 years in the trade. Here we bring you real stories and real conversations from the field to the executive suites of the electric utility world. It's about the people who keep the power flowing and the grid strong. Let's get to work. All right, so we're out here today at the 2026 Trainers Conference in beautiful Orlando, Florida, and we're talking with Mr. Matt Hope. How we doing, Matt?
I'm doing good.
Man,
Thanks
I
for
appreciate
having me.
you making the trip over here.
Super happy to be here. Yeah, super
So
pumped.
this is a conversation I've been wanting to have for a while, and in our industry, every time there's outages, everybody pulls up their phone and they start checking these outage maps. And yours is the one that comes up first,
Sure.
right? So PowerOutage.com, let's talk about your involvement with that.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, like PowerOutage.us, that's the famous domain.
Yep.
We're doing a little bit of a rebrand there with PowerOutage.com. When it comes to the media, things like that, having that .com actually really matters. So
Okay.
that's part of the reason that we're doing it, to make it very clear. This is a website you can go and visit, etc. So when it's shown on the Weather Channel and things like that, previously .us, maybe a little ambiguity there. Now we have the .com. We actually see like the spikes in the traffic that people, when they're watching on TV, they come out
Gotcha.
to the website and they can say, oh, well, what can I go find? So,
Yeah.
So I am the CEO of PowerOutage.com. I'm one of the part of the ownership group. And my business partners and I, we purchased the website in November of 2024 from an individual named Jason. Awesome guy. He's still part of the team, heavy in the data, and he's the one who founded PowerOutage.us and built it up from scratch almost a decade ago now, I think.
Okay.
And he started this as a hobby website. So he was really interested in watching the storms that were coming into the Northeast, which happens to be the area of the country he's from. And he started basically pulling in these different data feeds from the different utilities, from the different large utilities. And so you could see the storms coming in and see how that impacted the region as a whole versus looking at the individual utility maps and having to kind of piece it together in your head mentally. So we are visual creatures, right? And so the data visualization of aggregating all that together, it's a really valuable service. And then as people kept watching, he's expanded it, and by beginning of 2017, it was covering, I believe, a vast majority of the country at that point. So
Awesome.
Yep.
So was it a passion project for you to get started in that? Or was it something you had already kind of dabbled in a little bit before?
Yeah. So my business partner and I, we actually have a different website called findenergy.com, and we're that website's heavily focused on electricity rates and fuel types that are used to power different areas of the country. And from honestly, before we even launched that site, we were hyper interested in power outage data. It's extremely interesting during events, right? And we were actually looking at PowerOutage.us. We were just like, wow, this is really interesting. How can we work with this guy? And we got in touch with him years ago, actually, and stayed in touch, and basically just talked through different scenarios of how we could collaborate. And there was a point in time we actually made another system that did something similar. It took a really long time. It took way longer than we thought it was. It was way harder than we thought it was going to be. It's way more challenging technical problem than we thought it was going to be. But we were able to create something and actually publish something during Hurricane Beryl. And at that point in time, I think with Jason, the founder of PowerOutage.us, I think he was able to take a look at what we had done and say, okay, wow, these guys are serious and they're going to be, good stewards of what I built. And I believe that was a selling point for him for, okay, there's an opportunity here for partnership and for these guys, getting highly involved in the company. So
did you 10 years ago, did you see the data industry growing like it has been and becoming such a big part of everyday life? Because it's huge right now. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, my eyes weren't on it 10 years ago, right?
No
so
eyes where I don't feel like
no, so I mean, I mean, me professionally, I wasn't, I was doing some real estate stuff back then.
Yep.
And my background's in marketing and,
Okay.
and SEO, specifically search engine optimization, right? So in 2020, my partners and I, our background, our specialty was in taking like complicated data sets and making interesting websites that the everyday consumer could easily digest.
Okay.
So the Find Energy website is taking complicated rate reports that the utilities are turning in on a consistent basis, and it's simplifying it for the everyday consumer and letting them like kind of cross compare what's their situation look like compared to the next county over, the next state over.
Okay.
And the power outage data was just like the logical next step for us, and honestly the most exciting data set.
Yeah.
So because it's just constantly it's alive.
Yeah. And it's grown to the point to where when you pull up power outages on your phone, you're the first website that pops up now.
Yeah, it's and a lot of that has to do with Jason and the work that he did. It caught on. The media started using the site like crazy.
Yeah.
The citations are, during Winter Storm Fern, there were thousands and thousands of media citations where they're actually linking to the website. And in the eyes of, and this is the SEO background here, in the eyes of the search engines, those media mentions are really like, that tells the search engine, this is an authoritative website. Let's have it higher in the rankings, essentially.
So it just feeds into the algorithm at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And don't get me wrong, for the end users, it's an important thing these days, right? Everybody wants to know, hey, how bad is it? When could my lights possibly come back on? All that stuff. And they're finding it there faster than they're finding it anywhere else.
Sure. Yeah. So, we're never going to replace the utilities information as far as like the estimated time to restoration, right? That's not the role we're trying to play or anything like that. But for general situational awareness of how bad is it?
Yeah.
Right. Is it just my street?
Yeah.
Is it the whole county? Is the whole state just getting impacted right now by, a thunderstorm that came out of nowhere? So, people are coming for that situational awareness, even the general public.
So let's talk about foot traffic on the site, right?
Yeah.
Regular day to day, about how much foot traffic are you looking
at? We're I guess it's very weather dependent, right?
Oh yeah.
So, let's say, 2024, we're talking low 7 figures a month.
Okay.
People on the site on a just standard,
just blue sky day.
And on the actual impact days, I'll go through a couple of them with you. So on landfall of Helene and landfall of Milton, on both of those days, those single days, there were over 1.5 million unique users on the website each of those days.
That's
right.
amazing.
So 1.5 during Helene, 1.5 during Milton. Winter Storm Fern, that obviously just occurred. In the first 36 hours of Winter Storm Fern, I believe we crossed 2 million unique users on the website just during that 36 hours.
That is impressive.
So it's pretty significant when the media starts mentioning it and the event's actually happening and going on.
And the bandwidth to support all that traffic, it boggles my mind. I don't know how you handle that part.
So we on the blue sky days, we're paying for a lot more servers than we need, and then on the dark sky days, we're
filling them all.
Yeah, we're monitoring it, and during Fern, we actually did a temporary increase of our server capacity because it was like, okay, we're about to hit it. Yeah, we gotta keep everything going. So
crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So
and just to clear, it's not just 2 million people. It's 2 million people hitting it
over and over,
refreshing.
Yeah.
It's 2 million people actively clicking through lots of different pages, and so the number of calls that are coming into the site and hitting the servers, it's pretty significant.
Yeah, that's impressive. 100%. So let's talk about that data for a second, right?
Sure.
Where are you guys getting the data from? You're not just pulling this out of thin air. Where does it come from? Yeah,
it's coming from publicly available information for the most part that the utilities are already publishing.
Okay.
Right. So if you imagine, there's a few thousand utilities across the country. About 1,000 of them have a public outage management map an outage map
Mhm.
that they make public for their customers and, stakeholders and,
Yep.
the municipalities and states and that kind of
Covering
stuff.
all the meters on their territory.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so we are taking that information and aggregating it into one spot. Each utility, this is part of the challenge, but each utility is a little different in how do we get this specific utilities data? Do we have an actual like API endpoint that they've set up for us that we're able to connect to and it never breaks and it's great? Are we using their public outage map? And if, they make a change to that outage map and we weren't prepared for it, like we've got to like rapidly fix it, during the event, like it varies across the industry, across those 1,000. So
let me ask you this. There are a ton of those companies and websites out there, right? Utilities across the country, there's a ton of them.
yeah.
Are you covering the majority of them? You're not covering 100% of them. There's no possible way. Some of them don't even have outage maps.
Right. So we track our coverage based on number of US electric meters covered.
Okay.
So because covering a large IOU and covering a small municipality that serves a few hundred people, those are very different things, right? So we cover 97% of US electric customers. We're so close to being able to say 98%. We're working on that. And 97% of US electric customers are represented in that data. And then we actually cover 95% of Canadian electric customers, 89% of UK electric customers. So these are like poweroutage.com/CA/UK. And then 100% of Ireland, and then partial coverage in Spain and Australia.
That's mind-boggling.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a lot of people to keep track of.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. So how often is the website updating, right? Because you can't update it every 3 hours in a storm. It's got to be more often than that. How's that work?
Yeah. So there's the legacy system that Jason, the founder, built. It operates on a 10-minute cadence.
Okay.
And so it's essentially calling out to every single utility data source every 10 minutes and capturing the data in like a snapshot of that data nationwide and then in other countries as well.
And there's no way that's every utility at the same time. So minute 1 is getting a certain number, minute 2 is getting a certain number, and it just kind of keeps going. And
yeah, it happens pretty fast. It does happen pretty fast. Yeah.
It's amazing.
We're working on a system right now though that will actually sync to each individual utility. So if the utility updates it every 60 seconds, we're going to update it every 60 seconds for that utility.
Wow.
If they only update it every 15 minutes, then we're going to call to that utility on the cadence that they're actually updating the data.
Okay.
So the faster that they get, the faster we can get. And if we, we're actively talking to utilities and attempting to get, a more secure data relationship, I guess you could say, like a direct pipeline or, some sort of, API integration.
Yep.
And it'll be as real time as we can get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the biggest challenge with you guys in collecting that data from these utilities, right?
Yeah.
Is it getting that relationship? Is it the data itself? What's the biggest headache there for you?
So there's a lack of standardization. So all the different outage maps, a point might mean one thing on one map and one thing on another map. There's no standardization for, like outage cause, restoration times, things like that. So when we're pulling in this data, we have to make sense of a lot of it, and essentially we have to, digest it internally and decide like, okay, what do we know for sure from this? And that's what we can publish.
Okay.
So because we don't want to take any guesses.
Yeah.
Right. We want to be accurate and take the information as it's coming. So there's no standardization for what is reported or needs to be reported across the country. There might be in some states, but not across the country. The other main challenge is when there is not a direct relationship or direct data pipeline with the utility is if they do change something without letting us know, which a lot of them let us know. We really appreciate that. So if you're a utility and you're listening, at the two ways that we can make sure that what's shown up on our site is the numbers that you're publishing and everything's in line, because the media and the regulators, they're looking at our site too. And then they call the utility and say, hey, why am I seeing something different on Power Outage? And, versus whatever numbers you're sending me.
Yep.
So the easiest fix for that is if you're going to make a change to your outage map, just give us a heads up. Okay. Hey, on this date, we're going to move to this URL, or we're going to change to this outage management system and this output for the map. And that heads up for us, that we schedule, we have guys online and we make sure we handle that. The second step, the more advanced step, would be actually like figuring out like a custom integration.
Okay.
And we do have utilities that do that, and we're very thankful for those relationships, because that makes life easier. So
Yeah. So that line of communication directly with these utilities is so crucial for you guys to be accurate, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
And especially when all the systems don't necessarily talk to each other very well, right?
No.
Like I said, there's no standardization.
No.
So you've got to specialize the line of communication per utility almost sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, there's different outage management systems
Yeah.
that have different, percentages of the market, right? They're some, they're used by more utilities than others. And so figuring out a way for us to handle data from a specific outage management system, a brand or something, that can solve like a large batch of utilities at one time. But if there's a change for that utility, it literally just could be they changed the URL that we're visiting to get this data, that can break things. So,
Wow.
Yeah. So during the dark sky events, we're all hands on deck. If it's doesn't matter what data is, doesn't matter,
So that was going to be my next
Yeah.
question, right?
working on Christmas is
That's it.
if you guys are, we are.
That's the industry, right?
Yeah,
And that industry trickles down to everyone involved in it.
Yes, 100%.
And I'm sure that's easier on some of the bigger storms. And I don't mean easier, but I mean, when Beryl was coming, they knew it was coming. They just didn't know exactly where it was going to hit, right? But like last week when those straight line winds came through, some of that just popped up out of nowhere.
Right.
How do you stay prepared for that? You just watch it and start calling each other and be like, hey, we need you on. We need you coming.
Yeah, I mean, we're using the same alerts you guys are using. So all those alerts that we've set up, that alerting system, I mean, I'm getting text and
You've got a great team.
So I've got, my thresholds might be lower than everybody else's because I need to know when it's 5,000, not 50,000, that something's happening. So
yeah, lots of coffee.
Yeah, there are some days like that.
The largest event you said was 2 million. Is that the largest one you can remember?
No, so that would be, so that's just for like traffic on the website.
Okay.
So largest event tracked, if I remember correctly, would be Irma, and that was 7 million meters without power. For comparison, Helene was like 4 million or 4.5 million, somewhere in that range. So yeah, Irma at 7 million was pretty. Yeah, that's the largest event that in our historical data. So we actually, this data is tracked and cataloged back through 2017.
That's cool.
So all the numbers you see on the live site today, like we're capturing that and saving it for universities and research labs and private companies. They use that for different.
And that's another thing that people don't realize, right? The end user just wants their lights back on, and that's what they're worried about when they get on your website. But your website does so much more than that. This data is being tracked and looked at, and they're using it for prediction purposes and stuff moving forward, right? Like all that stuff makes a difference.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. There's probably there's double-digit groups that are using our historical data to work on models. And if there's groups out there listening that are interested in that, we're highly interested in assisting those processes, because something like, the more that things like that exist, the better prepared everybody's going to be.
For sure. So during these events, I'm sure people are reaching out to you for all kinds of things, right? What's some of the most common things that you get during the event?
From which group?
Yeah. Whatever pops in your brain.
I mean, obviously the media is reaching out quite a bit.
Okay.
Right? They want to understand the numbers. They want they love to get quotes. They want to get like a actual statement from us in some capacity. We do have regulators and emergency managers at the state levels reach out for clarification or to ask, can I get the last 6 hours of data? Can I get, what was our peak? Like, can I get some of these numbers, my statewide peak, or, for this specific area or region? I mean, the ISOs reach out to us.
It's never ending.
The utilities are using us for that situational awareness. For mutual aid and for just understanding like resources and things like that. Who's getting hit? Who can I call for help? Who might be calling me? Perfect. And who's gonna need resources and who's not.
Okay. So before we sat down for this conversation, I did a little bit of reconnaissance work, right?
Yep.
And on a couple of social media groups, I just kind of put some questions out there, and it was mostly lineman groups that I was in, because that's, in our world, that's our end user for the most part.
Sure.
And they were the easiest for me to get a hold of. But I was just asking them what they thought about the website, how they're using it, what are some of their headaches, and that kind of stuff, right?
Sure. Yep.
So you ready to talk about some of what they told me?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, we're in a constant balancing act of serving a lot of different types of users. And so a change that improves the experience for one group makes it harder to use for other groups, which is why we've started moving in the direction that we have. If you've been using the site for a while, now all of a sudden some stuff you have to log in for. Well, the reason for that is because somebody at a university or a research lab, or they want to look at the data differently than somebody who's actually climbing up the pole.
Yep. Yep.
So
yep.
Who's going to be up there on the pole doing the work.
Yep.
Right. So it's completely different use cases. So
okay,
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
All right. So and that was one of them. It was because you guys had an update, a pretty big update, recently, right? And when that update happened, it switched it to where you need to log in to see some of that information.
Yes.
And that was one of their biggest pushbacks. Why do I have to log in now?
Sure.
And the answer to that, basically, like you just said, is that data is so vast and there's so much of it that if you try to put that out there for everybody, it's going to drown you, right?
So the path for the whole like login concept, the linemen don't get, besides the alerts that are set. The alerts are brand new. That didn't exist. I think a year ago it didn't exist, and the only way to see the numbers was to just be refreshing it on the website and hitting refresh 50 times a day. So the alerts are like the kind of the first low hanging fruit feature of, okay, well, let's just let people get email and or texts to know when it's crossed a threshold that matters to them.
Okay.
So that was the first reason to ask for a login.
Yep.
Well, because if we don't know your email, your phone number, like we can't send it to you.
Yeah. It's one-way communication.
It doesn't work that way. So the first user group that we have developed a significant number of advanced features for that are not on the like public facing website is the actual utility industry themselves. So these are the operators who are like in the storm, like in the command centers during the events. It's the communications departments who are trying to, get that situational awareness. The regulators, and then some emergency management we've opened this up to too. But essentially they asked for features for things like, can we get a time lapse so that we can look back over the last 6 hours, 24 hours? We actually opened it up all the way for 2 weeks. So they can look back at that snapshot of data over 2 weeks. If we put that on the public facing website and Fern happens again, that's, it's tens of thousands of dollars a day in data processing.
Yeah.
Our intention is to have features like that for all of our power user groups, Lineman being one of them.
Okay.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
It's so right now we're focused on the utility personnel themselves. We do have some plans for emergency management departments at the state and county levels. There's a lot of crossover there. A lot of the same features, so that'll be like an easier lift when it comes to the linemen who are out in the fields doing the work. Like, we understand that we're going to have to provide a different solution.
Yeah, because they're using it differently.
They're using it differently, and it's going to be about, and maybe it's in a low connectivity setting.
Yeah.
And we understand that like we need larger views, that, like, easier to look at on your phone, easier to click through, and we completely understand that. And that's the intention. And I guess my my statement there was, have patience with us. We're definitely trying, and we're not gonna build it blindly either. We're gonna talk to people who are gonna be the users, right? We're gonna have focus groups, things like that. We're gonna invite people on webinars and say, hey, vote it up.
Yep.
What do you want to see?
Yep.
That's what we'll build.
Okay.
So we're not gonna guess.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So the login was one. The other thing that came up so much was just, I liked the old one better.
Sure.
And a lot of that, we just don't like change. As human beings, we don't like change,
Sure.
right? And linemen are really kind of stuck in that we don't like change mindset. So when that was coming up, a lot of the other linemen were chiming in and saying, well, there's a legacy button. You can click legacy button and it goes back to the old. Is that true?
Yeah. So it's a part truth.
Okay.
So two things happened when the site was redesigned. There was some functionality that disappeared, and when we started to get some feedback on that, we rapidly restored it. Okay. So as far as I'm aware, all of the functionality that we basically just made a list. Okay, what were people able to do previously that is now higher friction? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's harder to do. Mm-hmm. And then we restored those functionalities, even on the new map, essentially. And if you're in the field, you're going to want to use the basic map, right? it has less data being piped into it. It's going to load faster. It's going to just work better for you.
Okay.
If you're on a desktop, the interactive map, very cool. And we're going to keep adding features to that just makes it better and better. There is a legacy button. And so that gets you back to like the old color scheme. The basic map and that legacy button, it's the same functionality on the map.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So it's just, if you want to see the old color scheme.
Yeah. If you're stuck in your ways.
If you want to see the old color scheme, which I get, it was around for
a long time,
8+ years, 9 years. So I completely get that.
Okay.
I think in the future, based off feedback from the industry, there will be features that are lineman facing that you can, when you're logged in, I think another feature request there was, I want to see by utility. I don't care about county.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's great. In the future, if you're logged in and you want to save it so that it just shows you the county and you don't have to click between the two, great. Those are easy features that we can add. We just have to get to it. So,
yeah. And that's another part of the login feature, right? You don't know what someone wants to see and what they don't unless they're logging in and telling you that they're on their account.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is we want to build really exciting tools that are highly useful, that help people both in the field and, not at the event. We want them to be able to be empowered to make decisions and to understand the actual situation and what's happening around them. The data required to power those tools, if that was available just on the public facing website, and you've got, again, 2 million people during Fern, who a vast majority of those are just the everyday electricity consumer who's coming on to try to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. They're checking on their family across the country or whatever. Right?
And if they all start sliding a time lapse and doing all this stuff, then again, all of a sudden the data processing requirements around that are extreme. Extreme. It's truly, I know I already said it, but it'd be a chunky 5-figure a day.
But people who aren't tech people don't realize every time they're pushing buttons and changing things, that's bandwidth that you have to support.
Yes.
And if you take that times 1 million people across the country at the same time,
right,
that's a lot of data.
Yeah. So I definitely see some different functionalities that the lineman industry I think will be really excited about.
Yeah.
We've scoped out some of it. It's just not built yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one suggestion they had was a zoom feature.
Mm-hmm.
Where they could kind of pinpoint themselves on the map and zoom in and find themselves that way.
Like locate
where
am I
located?
right? Locate me. Yeah. That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, there you go.
That's an awesome idea.
Yeah, they'll love to see that one on the list for sure. So what's some of the biggest friction items for you guys for those end users? Not necessarily for the utility, but for those end users. Do you get a lot of pushback from the general public?
No, not so much.
Okay,
so
cool.
one big friction item that we had for a little while, which we have mostly fixed right before Fern actually, was that the everyday electric consumers, they would land on the website and they would find the email address. They would actually email in and say, hey, I'm at 123 Main Street. My power's out. When's it coming back? And so we had to manually, we had a template and we would respond to each of these people and let them know, we're not your utility. You need to go and you need to report your outage to your actual utility.
Oh my
so
gosh.
we built a tool right before Fern. And if you go on the website right now, it says, is your power out? And if you hit yes, then you can put in your address and we actually match it to who serves that address. So we have a lot of data. There's a little bit of overlap and sometimes they have to choose between one or two or between 2 or 3. But we essentially the purpose of that tool is to push them towards the outage reporting tools on their utilities website.
Gotcha.
Because them reporting it to us does two things. It does two things. It doesn't help them.
Yeah.
And it creates we were getting hundreds of those a day during an event. And we created that tool during Fern. And in that same 36-hour period, we had 50,000 address submissions.
That's awesome.
50,000. So that same 36 hours where we had 2 million users on the site, 50,000 of them went and put in their address, said, I don't have power. And we showed them the path, here's the outage, here's the outage reporting page for your utility.
Yeah.
And then they could obviously choose to click through that or not.
So that's got to make you feel good, though, right? You were able to help 50,000 people that you know of figure out the path to reporting their outage, right? Because not everybody's tech savvy. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people that are pulling these phones up, they may think they're on one website when they're on a completely different one, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So making that path happen is pretty cool.
They're typing in their city name, power outage, and they're landing on our site, and and we want to get them to where we want to get them to the place that's going to help them, and which is going to be obviously their utilities reporting page.
Okay, so during this last storm event, we were up north working, and I saw a feature that was pretty cool. That was a new feature, right? So let's talk about this new feature of the time lapse and how all that came about and what it does.
Yeah, sure. So when we got under the hood of the business and started understanding the different power user groups, the one that was very interesting and exciting to us and intriguing was the actual utilities themselves. Like I was like, wow, why are the utilities using us? Don't they have their data? And they do. They have their own data. They're using us for general situational awareness, right? They're using us to see what's happening at all their neighboring utilities. Or when the storm is 6 hours away, 12 hours away, what kind of impact, what kind of outage impact is being seen at those other utilities that the front is currently impacting. So what can we potentially expect 12 hours from now? I'm making up some metrics here, but so then we started asking them, okay, well, that's great. Like, thanks for using the site. What else would be more useful? And like time lapse. I want to be able to look back. Being able to look back and just see how the storm developed.
Yeah, following the data.
Yeah, exactly. And so we did 2 weeks because we just looked back at the historic events that the site has tracked, and we were like, well, 2 weeks is about as rough as it gets. So we'll open it up to that window, and because every day extra is more data processing, right? So we have a 2-week window, and right now that's available to anyone who works at a utility in the United States can take their @utilityname.com or email address, and they can log in and they can get access to that. We're starting to roll that out to the state emergency managers. We've rolled that out to FEMA, Department of Homeland Security, and a few other organizations that are at that federal level. So we're moving slowly with that rollout just to make sure that everything goes smoothly.
Okay.
The intention is that there are features like that in a Lineman dashboard one day too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So if utilities want to be involved in that, right? What's that process for them, and is there a cost in it?
No, so this is a free tool that's available to the utility industry, and it's sponsored by Tempest Energy. So Tempest Energy, I'm sure
that's awesome.
You and a lot of your listeners are probably familiar with Tempest Energy, and so it was. There are a lot of great groups out there in the storm contractor business that we've talked to about this. We said we want to bring this to the forefront. We want the utilities to have this. We don't necessarily want to go through their procurement processes and that headache.
Yeah.
And this is the model that we came up with. Okay, we'll let somebody who is a vendor to the utilities sponsor this and help us bring it to light.
Okay.
And we had a lot of great conversations, and Tempest was the one that saw the vision the clearest and said, okay, that's something we want to go after. And it was actually at an EEI event. I had the pleasure of talking with Mike Zappone in person, and again, just reinforcing the vision of what I thought these tools could be to the industry. And he got excited about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he helped make it happen. So very thankful to Mike.
Good on Mike for recognizing that and for making it easier for other people to buy in and get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And I mean, it's honestly, it's spreading like wildfire. We haven't actually pushed it out. Again, we're doing this in a slow process. There's already, I believe, over 1,500 utility users that use this on during these events. I would be surprised if we don't cross 5,000 users by the end of the year. It's just like it's starting to catch that traction and it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You just go and log in, it's free to you, and you get an enhanced version of the website with all these additional tools that make your job easier.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's look into the future, right? Where do you see the website going and the data and stuff going in the next 2 to 5 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we do not take it lightly, the distribution that the website has, right? We understand the importance of the data to a lot of different organizations. And honestly, that was one of the biggest surprises when we did, really get under the hood here is, wow, this is being depended on by a lot of major organizations and Fortune 500 companies, just crazy stuff. We continue to be surprised. So for us, establishing the most secure version of the data that's both the pipeline and just the publishing of that data, like that's top of mind for us. And as we keep identifying these different power user groups, a vast majority of those users are I would categorize them all as they're attempting to lessen the impact of wide-scale outage events. And we want to be a part of that, right? So we want to create new data sets and tools and data insights that enable people to get the lights back on faster.
Okay.
Or to have them not go out in the first place, right? Like either one of those metrics right there is really exciting to us. We would like to measurably impact the severity of these outage events in a obviously less severe way.
Yeah, for sure. And that is a major struggle, right? These outage events, when they happen, they're devastating people. They're turning lives upside down. It's just an event that if you're not in the middle of it and you don't see it firsthand, you don't realize how devastating it can be.
Right.
So yeah, no, that's perfect that you guys are jumping on board with that. So from your perspective, what's one thing that the electric industry could be doing better or could advance on moving forward with this, right?
From our perspective, it would be a hell of a big deal if they just said, hey, we're going to change our outage map next week.
Yeah.
that heads up is a big deal for us. And it honestly, it changes when the media and or regulators are on our site and they see and there's something different with what they're seeing on their utilities site. Like phone calls happen. Like, let's reduce all that. We all have enough phone calls going on. I don't know about you. I get a bunch of spam calls. I don't
more than I care for.
Yeah. I know you. Yeah. Storm events happen and your phones. Yeah. I don't want to be anywhere near your phone. So, I think communication will be great. Like we're in the position. PowerOutage.us is what it is. It has the distribution that it has. It is looked to by, a lot of large organizations and pretty much every major media outlet, right? So
perfect.
It's there. It's not going away. Like let's just make the lines of communication as open as possible, and in a safe and secure way. Like we understand that there's some sensitive data here, and we're not asking for that, but
perfect.
Just making sure things don't break.
So on top of that, if they want to communicate with you, how do they find you, right?
Yeah, it's easy. There's an email address on the website. You can info@poweroutage.com.
Yep.
Yeah, and that'll get to us.
Perfect.
So, yeah, and then we'll get it to whoever.
Yeah. And that's anybody, right? Now,
yeah, totally.
if they're logged in, whenever they're logged in and communicating with you, is it easier that way?
I think it would be easier just we understand how they use the website a little bit better.
Okay.
So if they say, I have this problem or I'm trying to accomplish this, and we can see, oh, well, they were using this and maybe we can direct them over here instead. It's just more information. It's just more information. So really the login aspect is much more about where the enhanced tools that are going to make people's jobs easier, that's where those are going to live.
Okay.
So
perfect.
Because the average consumer doesn't need that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure.
They can look on our social media for the time-lapse GIF that we publish later. They don't need to play with the slide.
All right. So any final thoughts? Anything you want to put out there for?
No, this is it. This is great. I appreciate you having me. We truly are actively listening, and when it comes to the linemen specifically, like we have every intention of building what's desired, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to guess.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like what you guys are doing in the industry. I like that you're evolving and changing with the times, because that has to happen, right?
Yep.
And you're kind of trying to pull everybody together on the same page with things, and that doesn't happen often enough either. So thank you for doing all that.
Yeah.
And anybody that wants to get out there and get a hold of Matt, go to the website, PowerOutage.us, hit the contact me, send them an email, and they'll get back with you.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Will do.
Matt, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That's it for today's episode of Power Grid Talks, from the bucket trucks to the boardrooms. I'm your host, Tom Williamson. I want to thank you for joining me as we talk to the people behind the scenes who keep our grid strong. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give it a share, and leave a review so we can keep bringing more voices from across the utility world to the conversation table. You can also find us at PowerGridTalks.com. Until next time, stay safe and keep the power flowing.